I was 7 hands split and stinging a jump rope cutting into my waist, while I dragged my baby brother across a road that disappeared in white, his lips the color of blueberries and too quiet for a toddler. And I kept telling myself, one more step, one more breath, don't stop. A black Mercedes rolled up beside me window, sliding down like a breath of summer, and the man inside looked at my brother, then at me, and said in a voice that didn't shake, "I'm taking you somewhere safe, right now." I didn't trust grown-ups, not after the last year and a half, but there was something in how he said it, like a decision already made, like a lifeguard who has already kicked off his shoes and is in the water. My name is Emma, my brother is Tommy, and the day our mother's ambulance left and never came back, the world got colder in ways a heater can't touch. Aunt Margaret and Uncle Rick showed up with funeral faces and church hugs. Family takes care of family, that line. And for about 3 days, they did. Then the mask slipped and rules showed up like unpaid bills. Don't waste food, don't ask questions, don't answer the door when I'm not home, and for the love of everything, stop crying. You think tears change anything. You know what I mean? Tommy started coughing, the way old houses breathe in winter, deep and wrong. Then the fever hit hot skin and cold fingers, and I stood in our cracked kitchen with my socks wet from the basement and said, he needs a doctor. He's not waking up right. And Aunt Margaret didn't even look up from her coupons. Hospitals cost money, and doctors ask questions. Stop making a fuss, or you're getting the belt. And Uncle Rick, beer number 3, before lunch said, kids get sick, stop being dramatic. And yeah, that happened. They had this Friday routine drive to the casino 2 towns over, and pretend luck could fix character. And once their taillights were gone, I wrapped Tommy in every blanket I could find, slid him onto a board from the shed, tied the jump rope to my waist, and to the board scribbled "baby sick, going to hospital" on the back of an envelope, and left it on the counter like a prayer that didn't need a stamp. The wind slapped my face until it went numb, my boots leaked. The rope burned through my thin coat. I counted to 100, and then started again, because numbers stay steady when everything else is loud, and the houses along the road kept their curtains closed, like maybe if they didn't look, we didn't exist. Then headlights, smooth and slow, the kind that mean expensive, and I flinched because men in trucks taught me to flinch. But the window dropped, and the man lifted his hands like a peaceful person in a wildlife show. "I'm James Castellano. I live nearby. Doors stay unlocked. You can hold the handle. I'm driving you to the ER if I turn wrong. You tell me and we get out." "Deal," he said, and I didn't have a phone. Aunt Margaret sold Mom's old one for cigarette money. But he was giving me control, not orders, and that mattered. He lifted Tommy like he was made of glass, flinched at how light he was, set him in the back seat, heat blasting leather warming, and I climbed in beside my brother, my fingers burning as they thawed, and James called ahead. Possible sepsis, respiratory distress were 10 minutes out. Words I didn't understand yet, but his voice did, steady and urgent at the same time. I watched his hands on the wheel, memorized the turns, so I could scream if he went wrong, but he didn't. He took the fastest route and parked right at the emergency doors, and suddenly, there were people with warm hands and fast feet, scissors cutting blankets, a mask fogging with Tommy's little breaths, machines painting our fear into beeps and numbers. A doctor with a ponytail and blue eyes that actually saw me, crouched down. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, you did the right thing. You brought him just in time." And when she said that, my bones shook in a way I couldn't stop, the kind of crying you learn to do quietly so nobody hears. You know what I mean. They wrapped Tommy in warming blankets, hung fluids, pushed antibiotics, said the word pneumonia like it was both the monster and the plan to fight it. And while all of that moved like a dance, I sat in the corner with my hands under my thighs so nobody would see them tremble. And James sat on the floor, near me, not touching, not crowding, just there, which is its own kind of medicine. Then came the social worker Patricia Reeves' badge on her belt. Tired kindness in her face, asking questions that pulled thread by thread through the last 18 months. Who cooks? Who watches? Who hits? How often? Where do you sleep when you're punished? And I told what I could out loud, and the rest my bruises answered for me, and she stepped out to make calls, and through the window I saw her with Dr. Chen, and then with James, heads bent like people building a bridge, quick because a river is raging. James came back and took the chair again. The ER noise soft around us, the kind of warmth that smells like disinfectant and coffee, and he said, "They're going to your aunt's tonight. They'll pull you out for now. Usually there's an emergency foster placement. But if it feels safe to you, I'd like to offer a bed at my place temporary, until they figure the long term." And then he looked at his hands and said the part that becomes the twist. "I had a daughter, Sophie. She and her mom died 5 years ago. I couldn't save them, I can't fix that, but I can show up for you and your brother if you let me." And that honest pain did something inside me I can't name, like a door cracked open in a room I thought was bricked up forever. We stayed the night at the hospital. James dozing in a chair, waking every time I did, saying, "I'm here. Go back to sleep," the words settling like a blanket. And by morning, Tommy's fever slipped a little, and his cheeks weren't so gray, and Patricia came back with the update. "Deplorable conditions, minimal food, no heat in your room. Evidence of substance use. They were arrested at the casino hearing tomorrow. We'll ask the judge for emergency removal." And I nodded without feeling much emptiness where fear used to be, like snow after wind. A few days later, when Dr. Chen said he was stable for the PICU, then a regular room, then discharge with meds, we drove to James's place, a quiet house at the end of a long driveway lined with pines. Not a museum, just a home with high windows and a big old kitchen that felt like it had seen birthday cakes and burnt toast. And his house manager, Maggie, met us with a smile that felt like the first warm day of spring. "We set up a yellow room for you, sweetheart, and a blue one for him," and for a week I kept waiting for the catch, the sharp word, the slap, the switch. But what showed up was breakfast that didn't come with a threat, a tutor on a laptop who said, "Let's start where you are," and James coming home late but not mean, asking what we learned, making faces that made Tommy belly laugh. And yeah, I know it sounds like a movie, but real life can be kind in regular ways too. The hearing was a Tuesday, with gray light courthouse wood everywhere. The judge, a woman who looked like she'd heard every excuse and was done with them. I took the stand with my knees shaking and told the truth. Showed pictures and charts. Patricia described the house like she was reading a weather report for a storm. "Someone could have avoided," James testified, last calm and precise. "I found a child dragging her baby brother through a snowstorm. That is what I saw." And when he described the way Tommy's chest moved, he had to stop for a second, then kept going. The judge took 10 minutes, came back, and said the words that cracked something in my chest and let light in. "Emergency custody to the state, temporary placement with Mr. Castellano approved. Criminal charges will proceed." And then she looked straight at me, "Emma, you saved your brother's life, and I am going to make sure someone saves yours." And that's when I let myself exhale all the way for the first time since the ambulance lights. 6 months of check-ins and home studies and therapy sessions later, we went back to that courtroom dressed up and lighter, and the adoption papers got signed. And the official photo shows me holding Tommy James with his hand on my shoulder. And when we got home, he pulled out his phone and showed me Sophie. And her mom said, "Love doesn't run out, it multiplies." And I believed him, not all at once, but in little pieces that added up. That's the satisfying part. The meals, the school, the Sunday walks, the way Tommy calls him Dad, like the word always belonged there. But life doesn't tie itself with a perfect bow. And here's the part that still makes my stomach jump. A letter came from prison with Aunt Margaret's name on the envelope. 4 pages about rehab and apologies and prayer and knees and how she wants to see me when she gets out. And I haven't answered because forgiveness and contact are different things. Because boundaries are not revenge. They're locks on doors that keep the heat in, because sometimes the bravest thing is to leave a story behind, even if someone begs for an epilogue. You know what I mean? So tell me what you think. If you were me, would you meet the woman who failed you, or would you keep the peace you fought for? If you were James, is this about money or about choices? If you were one of those neighbors who heard me once and didn't open the door? What would you do different next time when a porch light needs to mean more than light? Drop your thoughts. Argue kindly. Tell me what moment hit you hardest, or what you've seen on your own street. Because stories don't fix the world by themselves, people do. And sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to look away.